Hey guys, it's Julesy. It's 2020 and I don't even know if I'm here yet. Like all the sadness. All the sadness. I've had a really difficult time sitting down to finally record a video. I know we're definitely here because I've clearly made some life changes that have given us trepidation and anxiety about being on video. But welcome. I am Julesy, head smart brown girl in charge, and this is a channel all about creating a critical dialogue that meets at the intersection of pop culture and political history. We like facts over here. Let me get my little custom sweatshirt. I should have read them on a clavicle and shoulder, okay? So today we're talking about Lizzo. Mostly so I can make up for all the times I mispronounced her name as Lizzo. Ooh, my tongue is drunk. So sorry. But also because Lizzo is something special. So special that she always seems to be a lightning rod of viral discussion. From being called a millennial mammy, a white woman in a black woman's body, winning awards, stellar performances, being accused of pandering and commodifying her body as a plus size woman. Can she put some clothes on? Should she put some clothes on? Do I have to always see her ass? Are we celebrating diabetes? Diabetes? Why do white women love her? But don't black women too? Girl, Lizzo inspires a lot of conversation from all sides, and there's a reason for that. So let's dig a little deeper and see where we land. First, we have to set some facts on the table. Lizzo is a talented as fat black woman. Her image of this joyful, sex positive, definitely soft in the middle, not the plus size, still shaped like a peach, sisters of the hanging gut tribe. I shave my sister. Hello. And she is comfortable with all of it. Identifiably black, no light eyes or baby hair inside. I mean, she do guys like slick curl, you know what I mean though. It's just not an image that we have often seen celebrated at the heights that Lizzo has reached, and it's enthralling. It piques interest. You at least want to like scroll through it, see what's popping. Yeah, the representation before we even play the music, that piques interest. So much about Lizzo challenges the way we have subconsciously consumed a white supremacist understanding of beauty. That's T, no cat. One of the things that's disarming about Lizzo's presentation is, well, like, I would question how we're used to seeing the images of black bodies presented in a certain way or in a particular way across mainstream media. Whether it's fitting into like this very narrow confines of the European spectrum of beauty, slender features, set body proportions, light skin, and not that it has to be all those things at once, but there's always some like identifying marker that excludes the wider range of black woman identity. Or on the conversely, that these images of black women who do sometimes fit outside of the narrow understanding of like that society has put around beauty, how often are they joyfully reveling in the humanness, in their own humanness, without it being commodified for a gain that's not necessarily their own, or without centering the white gaze or the male gaze? How often do we get these images where people really are just being them for them? And if you fuck with it, you fuck with it. If you don't, you don't. But not in this sort of, the value of what I'm doing is based on how, what I can gain from the oppressive groups. Does that make sense? Am I connecting here? I'm trying to make a train of thought, and I feel like low creative braces might be getting in the way, but there's some things I've been consuming through the literature that have gotten me to this point. And what I am trying to say is that Lizzo's joy and comfort with her body and her sense of self runs disparate from the way black women historically have been presented and therefore consumed in mainstream media. We just don't get the representation of someone who so firmly bucks so many conventions, succeeding and therefore being celebrated on distinctly their own terms and not being pigeonholed or sidelined. It's like where she gets to control much more than, I mean, I don't know if we can say she controls all of her narrative. like she doesn't still have struggles within the realm she lives in, but she controls most of her narrative and demands it being respected in ways that we haven't seen. I also understand that I'm a person that doesn't really feed into exceptionalism. And so I don't necessarily think that Lizzo's success is replicable for a community of Black women. But I'm more so talking about the way between her and us we interact with her, not necessarily between the way her, us, and them, the whites, therefore interact. But when I focus on the conversation that we are having about her, I do think this is why so often the conversation about Lizzo tips over into let's criticize her, and specifically let's criticize her image, because that's what we know how to criticize. And there are all these other things running congruent around her that we're trying to understand that we don't necessarily, again, I always fall back on, we just don't have the language for a lot of things. It's easy to criticize the image because even some of the ways we engage with it is subversive. There's the trolling, right? The on the nose, fat phobic commentary. It's cheap and disgusting. Then we get the moments like where Jillian Michael was more than eager in a BuzzFeed interview to critique Lizzo's body.
I have to say, I've personally found, and I love celebrities like Lizzo or Ashley Graham who are really preaching self-acceptance.
I love her music.
Yeah.
100%. I don't know anything about her. I'm sure she's a cool, awesome chick.
Yeah, and I love that they're putting images out there that we normally don't get to see, of bodies that we don't get to see being celebrated. And
but why are we celebrating her body? Why does it matter? That's what I'm saying. Like, why aren't we celebrating her music? Because it isn't going to be awesome if she gets diabetes.
Well, I want to ask you...
I'm just being honest. Like, I love her music. Like, my kid loves her music. But there's never a moment where I'm like, and I'm so glad that she's overweight. Like, why do I even care? Like, why is it my job to care about her weight?
Now, Jillian, come on, sis. Didn't your super in shape co-host from The Biggest Loser, a show within itself that both contestants and winners have come out, broken their NDAs, blast the show, claiming that it put them in serious health risk in the name of entertainment and just losing weight at all costs. So yeah, the co-host from that show who suffered a near fatal heart attack, why we celebrate super fit people when they got genetic issues? But I bring that up not even just to criticize the fat phobic white woman that is Jillian Michaels, because that's too easy. What more so caught me around that scenario is how many Black women who agreed with Jillian. The amount of Black women whose body types and proportions fit firmly outside the Instagram peach shape. No Dr. Miami in sight. And who would definitely benefit from a broadening of societal acceptance around body types. How many of them were agreeing with Jillian's commentary? Conversation that I did see coming specifically from Black women who were agreeing with Jillian, all fell on this argument of we are allowed to critique Lizzo's body, and we should critique Lizzo's body because that's what she leads with. And okay, so now here's where I'm going to finally talk about her music and connect it all back together, because I have a theory about why this particular narrative around her keeps popping up. Because this is the lead, right? That Lizzo panders or leads with her body. I'm trying to figure out, are people saying that she has commodified her body, that the presentation of her as a plus size Black woman is a sales ploy? Like, is there something inauthentic about it? I don't necessarily know what all people are trying to gather in that sentiment, but it constantly finds its way into every conversation. Of course, the LA Lakers with the ass cheeks, her nude cover for 'Cause I Love You, any interview she does, because she just doesn't feed into the confines of how plus size Black women have traditionally been dressed. And she do what she want, and so it's always a thing. And then of course the shade room finds a way to post her every time she gets scantily clad. Like, we know what they're doing there. And so this narrative and this idea that the negative criticism of her body type is warranted because that's all she's about and that's what she always leads with, it's become a constant part of the discussion. And it's unfair and unfounded when you actually look at her body of work and you just look at her art. She's an artist. Put a pin in this here, because there's definitely another conversation I want to have about how the about how racist music genres, the Grammys, and the larger music industry are. And running into this era where across the playing field, you have artists who are challenging the definition of traditional music genres, the redundancy of simply placing Black artists into urban categories. Word to Tyler, the Creator. And Lizzo was definitely one of those artists who perpetuates the necessity of that conversation, but that's a whole other video for a whole nother day. But to connect all this to how we discuss and are teaming with critique of Lizzo, sonically, she does make very poppy music that actually merges elements of R&B, gospel, blues, in a very up-tempo, easy to consume. Her music is not at all complicated. It's mostly fun, playful, and catchy AF. I would absolutely pay to see Lizzo perform live because there's clearly a lot of thought that she puts into her live performances and live shows, and I love it all. But in the car, in the house, I just don't find myself saying, hey Google, play Truth Earth. And I mean, I'm really stating my opinion here because I think enough of us are introduced and like we're intrigued, loved, liked, whatever, from a very personal place or like an intimate connection to her as a Black woman. Or at the very least, we see a lot of other Black women have this intimate connection to her. So when we go to play her music, we're expecting it to land a certain way. And because we have this identity as this Black woman breaking barriers and breaking conventions that relate to me in a very intimate way. So I expect, therefore, her music to connect to me in a very intimate way. And when, for those of us who it doesn't land, there's something unsettling about that, so much so that a lot of us want to go and declare it. I ain't finna die on the hill at all claiming that Black folks don't like Lizzo's music. That is not at all what I'm saying. Or that she makes music for white people. I actually very much so do believe, and I could break down the ethnomusicology of it all, that Lizzo makes very Black music, even if we aren't used to Black music being sonically catchy, upbeat pop too. I want to stay away from the essentialist view of what Black music can be because it falters if you actually know your music history. More so for those of us who her music doesn't sonically totally land, we're not connected to, but because we have this personal connection to her and her personhood, I think it impacts the way that we discuss Lizzo and why, simply outside of the fat phobia, she becomes so easy for people to want to critique. A lot, in so many ways, societally, we are forming these very essentialist viewpoints on Blackness and the various forms of, Black art, Black identity, Black woman, Black queer, Black gay, all sorts of identities that could come out of our community. And what it means to be essentialist is that we set very specific boundaries. For instance, like something that I can relate to myself is as identifying as a Black feminist, or, since we're here on YouTube, this larger, conversely large movement around the feminine Black woman, right? We set these very specific boundaries. And for anyone, largely based on our own personal identities, and when anyone doesn't fit or meet that narrative and boundaries that we've created, we cast them out. And we cast them out in a way that says, you cannot be valued the same way I'm valued within this identity. You don't meet the requirements. Not only do you not meet the requirements, but I'm valuing myself over you because you don't meet these very narrow requirements. And what that does is essentially silence and or erase the identities of others. In grappling with the celebration of Lizzo and this art that doesn't land as personally as the image or the personhood, I've seen a lot of lazy critiques come from essentialist viewpoints on what it means to be Black woman artist, Black art, what that can be. And most of it just kind of somewhere falls in the realm of claiming Lizzo is a white woman or that she makes music for white women or white people, white gays included. Is there really any mainstream Black artist whose concert, we talk about stadiums, any artist who's performing in a stadium, is there truly any mainstream, currently relevant Black artist Who isn't performing for a white crowd? Kendrick Lamar and his Pulitzer Prize award-winning album that's, his black as fuck music. He's performing it for a white crowd. Talk about niggas and we gonna be all right. And you looking around like, I know y'all white boys is not fitting to drop the N-bomb with him. Like, don't say it. I mean, the City Girls aren't doing stadiums yet, but give JT like a good year outside the halfway house, and I'm sure their audience is also going to be consumed with a broader white audience. Any artist doing stadium tours, whiteness. The succinct point that I am trying to make is that many of us might be aware of her, follow her, know of her via social media. Like, that's the entry point. But don't regularly consume her music, so we miss all the work, the serious work that she puts into her art. And why I especially think this claim that Lizzo panders to white women is specious is because she herself isn't the only part of her brand that breaks down all the conventions of beauty and mainstream music and black art. She definitely actively employs a diverse team of black women, differently shaped. What's the PC way of saying, all sizes are visible? Visible within her brand, visible on the stage, visible in the business structure behind her. They share the stage and they run the business. I mean, there's just plenty of blackity black. We can think of a few black folks that get put on and be the only black thing on stage as they surround themselves with white folks. And not even just on stage, plenty of black folks, white publicists, white managers, white teams, stylists, like whole team, all their handlers. When they launch their companies, all the executives at their companies are white or white women. Or you get plus size artists who will be on stage with all skinny backup dancers. And so many black artists who the visual aspect of their art still relies heavily on this European spectrum of beauty that they themselves supposedly defy. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You get music videos and there's no woman featured who's darker than a brown paper bag. Everyone sort of looks alike and fits into this same very narrow definition of beauty. And Lizzo, for the most part, and I don't want to set her up as someone who is, I don't expect my artist to be everything for me. I don't participate in stan culture, but I do think for the most part thus far, when it comes to the visual entrees she's put out, she doesn't fall into any of those traps. Her music videos at HBCUs don't try to add the Hollywood gloss to who gets to be featured. Her backup dancers are the big girls, so I think I've actually been with her since 2016, and then all the extras during any of her live performances are always diverse in body types. And it's not like it's the big girls are all the way in the back and just like, the big girls have this like 30-second point to come out and like, look at the big girls dance, and then they all disappear. They're an integral part of her act. To her live show performances, then to honoring Rosetta Tharpe, the unrequited godmother of rock and roll, with am I saying her name right? Celeste Henderson on guitar during Lizzo's SNL performance, which was a big deal unto itself. Girl, there was just so much Black history wrapped up in that specific moment, and it was just so beautiful that I loved it. But if you're not paying attention to any of this, maybe you just follow her on Instagram. Maybe you just see her when the Shade Room posts her, or when the Breakfast Club discusses her, or any gossip blog posts her, or something goes viral on Twitter, and social media loves negativity. You are going to have a very slanted viewpoint of who she is and what her output is. I, in general, was inspired to have this conversation about Lizzo because, with the launch of the Smart Brown Girl Book Club, which you should definitely be a member of, you should definitely join, okay? I've been doing a lot of reading, and specifically Saidiya Hartman's, let me see if I can get the whole title correct, sis, here. Wayward Lives, Beautiful Experiments, Intimate Histories of Riotous Black Girls, Troublesome Women, and Queer Radicals, which, courtesy of Audible, I have been able to dive into. It's a great listen, it's deeply researched, and it weaves together the stories of Black women who dare to live outside of the cultural norms. And then therefore, she connects back to like this history there's history books about this same subject, how we consistently, society, not we, society consistently, this white supremacist society, consistently attempts to strip them of their identity and criminalize their lifestyle as a pathology. Listening to this book, coupled with the research that I was doing on my PhD application, or for my PhD application, where I was focused on the activism of low-income, working-class Black women, one of the things that really stuck out through this research and Saidiya Hartman's book is that how vital it is that Black women who buck any sort of convention, and Black queer folk at large, that they get the autonomy to control their narrative and their legacy. Because there really is a very long history. I mean, man, there's so many ways this theme comes back up, of not just critiquing the sexuality and lifestyle of Black women who dared to not allow society to own their labor, but like the sidelining, the criminalizing, and the erasure of their story. I'm not saying that you can't ever have a less than gracious opinion of Lizzo, that you can't think the Lakers outfit aired on the side of scandalous, that you can't dislike, or that you can't not be a fan, and that you have to have like this great awe-inspiring viewpoint of who she is. But I do think this is a pop culture moment that I can connect to the deeper readings that I enjoy doing, and allow us to just think a little bit before we give our knee-jerk reactions. I do want us to be careful when it comes to Lizzo and any Black woman who owns her shit that we not participate in flatly reducing them because they don't fit into whatever narrow understanding we have of whatever aspect of Blackness, or because we are just so used to subjugating Black women. And we all do it on some level. That essentialism catches up with all of us. I'm trying to tell y'all. Big thank you to Audible for sponsoring this discussion, because I've been using the ish out of Audible, y'all. And it's so perfect that they are issuing a challenge for current and new users to finish 3 audiobooks by March 3rd. That's 3/3, and you get a $20 Amazon credit, get a little coin for your reading. And guess what? Guess why that is so superfluously easy? I'll just be making up words. Guess why it's just so easy? It's so easy because you can join the Smart Brown Girl Book Club. We have 2 reading tracks. That's 2 books already. Plus it's Saidiya Hartman, Wayward Lives, which is excellent, beautiful, awe-inspiring. So many more conversations we're going to have based on that book. And you can accomplish this reading goal, get you a little $20 Amazon credit, and have a Smart Brown Girl community to discuss it with via said book club. We got you. You see this? We make it happen. It's popping. It's a dialogical education, and we are here for it. So easy peasy. And if you're new to Audible, use my link to sign up. You can go to audible.com/Julesy or text Julesy to 500 to get your first 30 days free. And then you can also, hop on over to the 2 other books that we read in the Smart Brown Book Club. Get them on Audible because it makes it so much easier to get through a book. And boom, then you get extra $20 on top of it because you completed the challenge. You did that. You are here for it, all right? So start listening with a 30-day Audible trial. Choose 1 audiobook and 2 Audible originals absolutely free. Visit audible.com/Julesy or text Julesy to 500 and you start today. So I hope you enjoyed this discussion. I hope it made sense. I hope it inspired some thoughts. Even if you disagree, I want to hear all your thoughts. Are there other things that maybe I didn't touch on that this, I started to get there and I didn't get all the way there, and other things that made you think of? Is there's more conversation to be had around this topic? Are there more artists that we can relate to the things I discussed in this video? Let me know. I'm gonna holler at y'all later. Welcome to 2020. Girl, Black History Month is around the corner. I'm so excited. Deuces.